Morning, 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 folks. Morning. Morning, Angie. Morning. Alison Boyce, good morning to you. Alison Rogers, Joseph, good morning. So we have some more Alisons joining the team. Welcome all. Marilyn McKenzie, morning. Let's see, we have here Jillian John on morning. Chancellor 7 of 9, Roxanne King, good morning. Baba Osi, morning. Tula Miami, good morning to all of you guys. Yes. Everybody on time this morning, boy. Yes. That is good. That is good. Yes, we have a lot to talk about this morning. I think I'm going to need to have a part 3 of Ugom Kamla. Yeah. That's when you think you have enough. She comes out and she surprises. Well, I wouldn't say surprises, but typical fashion. Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Never a dull moment with her, right? Yeah. So, Lester Blake, Veronica Jack, good morning. Adriana Alexis, good morning to you. Neil Francois, morning. I think so, morning. Zion Genesis. Zion is telling me volume, please. Is my volume down? I think. Let's see here, boy. Yeah. Right. Dylan Holder, morning. Valerie Brown, morning, morning, morning. Ruth, good morning to you. Anna Sisnet, morning, Anna. How is the weather out there in Canada? Caroline Crossley, good morning to you as well. Ruth Fronten, morning. Erin Bishop. Yes, allow the life to build up a little bit, and then we will start. What's the time? 11:02. Probably give them another minute or so, and then we will get into the discussion. It's supposed to be Ogom Kamla part 2, but when you're doing research, you end up getting a lot of additional information that might cause you to have to divert a little bit and so on. Right? Ryan, good morning to you, sir. Deidre Hubert, morning to you. Good morning to His Excellency Nigel O'Connor, President of Pleasantville. Good morning to you. And to Marissa, good morning as well. Anton Batiste, yes, tell them, share the live. Lion Peter, morning. Denise Bramble, morning, Val. Morning. Laverne Brown is locked on all the way in Washington, D.C. Cold, but we know, yes, I'll eat up things. Yes, Laverne, I intend to. Washington, D.C. is on my bucket list of places to visit one of these days. So, but I'll make it happen. Right. So we're getting there. We give them just a couple seconds more, and then we will start because I see the light building up nicely on both them. Claire Irish, good morning. Angela Wells, morning to you. Patricia Lazari, morning. And we have here Casey Joseph, morning to you. David Clark, morning. Get this here. Okay. So, today is supposed to be part 2 of Ogom Kamla. But before I get to Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, right, the misleader of the opposition, I need to deal with the UNC Potong in chief, Marsha Walker. Come on, go to this. Yes. Person I call the UNC Potong in chief, Marsha Walker. Yeah, you all know her? Marsha Lorraine Walker. So, Tuesday last, the holiday, when it is that, the usual suspects who normally jump out themselves to speak on behalf of the UNC were playing Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. They went into hibernation. The Potong in chief, Marsha Walker, living up to that title, that sobriquet, she was by the front gate while everybody else inside sleeping and peeping by the curtain to see because they know everybody waiting to hear a comment from them with respect to the judgment concerning the Piako Airport scandal. But she out by the gate, out in front, yap, yap, yap. You know how those Potongs just be everything that pass. They want to yap. Well, that was Marsha Walker last week, Thursday, shooting off a certain nonsense on Facebook, right? Trying to defend the indefensible. All of a sudden, 3 weeks ago, when the DPP would have announced that he would be discontinuing the matter, Piako Airport 3, I think is it. So, just thinking this thing doing that. Let's not. Give me 1 second, folks. Here. Right. When the DPP announced that he was dismissing or discontinuing Piarco Airport number 3, that matter. And Kamala Prasad Bisesa came on the Monday Night Forum and she said, "Did you hear the good news today?" Let's just do it. So, yes. Did you hear the good news today? And of course, the good news was that she was quick to say that this was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. Right? All of a sudden now, they want to distance themselves. As the judgment come out, everybody want to distance themselves from Ish and Steve. Why? If it's a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look bad, why all of a sudden now you all want to palm them off on the PNM, as the Potong did yesterday and since last week, Thursday? So she went on her Facebook page and is asking the question, why isn't the media in reporting the story about the case referring to Ish Galbaransing, Steve Ferguson, Ish Galbaransing, and Brian Quaitong and Russell Huggins as, well, Russell Huggins and Brian Quaitong as former PNM ministers, and Ish and Steve as former PNM financiers, right? So that's the first thing. They're ready to wash their hands, you know. They're ready to wash their hands at these men, push them, palm them off on the PNM now, and asking this nonsense about why is it that the media isn't referring to them in their capacities with respect to whatever involvement they might have had with the PNM. I want to tell Marsha something, right? There's a reason for that, and you should be very happy that the media adopts that approach. Because you are Marsha Walker, right? The wife of Richard Walker. And so when people refer to you in that capacity, they would say, Marsha Walker, the wife of Richard Walker, full stop. Look at your current dispensation. They're not going to look at your past dispensation to say Marsha Walker, wife of Richard Walker, an alleged girlfriend of an entire Soca Warriors football team. All right? You're happy that they don't do that, that they just stop at Marsha Walker, the wife of Richard Walker. Okay? So understand this based on their most recent dispensation, Marsha. You all were proud to embrace them from 1995, when it is that Quaitong and Russell Huggins, having been former members and ministers of the PNM, Mr. Brian Quaitong, I didn't take a vow of poverty, decided to cross and go across the floor and go to the UNC. So you're talking a pack of nonsense now about what they were PNM ministers, yes. But you see, from 1991 to 1995, when they were PNM ministers, their names never got called up in any bubble. It never got called up in any scandal, in any bacchanal or any corruption. Perhaps the propensity to be corrupt was in them, but the PNM environment did not facilitate or foster that. But the minute they left the PNM, after the PNM demitted office in 1995, and they went across to the UNC, they found in the UNC an environment, an atmosphere that was conducive to corruption, theft, bribery, name it. Any type of corruption you wanted to engage in, the UNC will accommodate you, welcome you with open arms. And so the UNC environment was able to foster that deep-seated desire that they may have had to become corrupt. Right? So you all take ownership of that. Forget it, we don't want them back. You all were happy to have them from 1995 to now, keep them. So don't come with no nonsense now to talk about, well, they were former PNM ministers. Everybody knows that. But everybody knows that they left and they came across there. Why? Because they didn't take a vow of poverty. And to stay in the PNM in opposition for them meant poverty. They weren't about that. You understand? So everybody else held their corner in the PNM and they battled it out for 6 years from 1995 to 2001. And then the party came back into power. You understand? So keep that, Marsha. But that's not all. She then now, with respect to this latest case, talk about a joke. People out there. So, with respect to the latest judgment, here is stupid logic of Marsha Lorraine Walker. Let's see, make sure I get it here. Here the logic. In an attempt to defend the indefensible again, she says, and in trying to push Steve Galbaransing on the PNM, she put up this document, right, with the Section 34 matter, the lawyers who were representing Steve Ferguson and Ish Galbaransing and others in the Section 34 matter. She puts up this document, the court document, when they went to court to try and see if they could get off using Section 34 a day or two after it was. And on the document, it has a list of Ferguson's attorneys, the state's attorneys, the attorneys representing the DPP's office, the attorneys representing the AG's office, and so on. Steve Ferguson had 5 lawyers representing him in that matter. 5. Marsha pick out and highlight the one attorney inside there that she identified as a PNM lawyer. Right? And hear what she says. Let me find it here. So, why this thing playing with me this morning? Not me. Let me find it here for you all. Yeah, so the lawyer's name is Fiar Hussein, I think. Yeah. And gosh, I don't know why this thing is when I really need it. Give me one sec, folks. Let me get this here. Right, let me see it here. I'm sure. I had to pull it up under the under this particular page because she blocked me from accessing her page because I used to be jamming her constantly. Every time she posts out something and you drop a piece of fact in her tail or you hit a newspaper article to debunk the nonsense that she posts, she couldn't respond. So eventually she blocked me. So now I have to use this particular app. So hopefully nobody will tell her about this page because but in any event, I can't comment on her Facebook page because the cowards that they are. Kamla Prasad Bissasa's page, the UNC's official Facebook page, Marsha Walker, this next one, Suzette Lower, all of them who like to come out and run them out and say so much things about the PNM and the government. They've set their Facebook page settings such that you can't comment unless you follow them, right? Unless you follow them, you can't comment. And obviously, if you send them a friend request, they're going to scrutinize your profile to see if you're pro-PNM. And the minute they realize that you're pro-PNM, they're going to ask their friend request, so you can't comment. A bunch of cowards, yellow-bellied cowards. People are so brave, and you so believe that what it is that you're saying is true. Well, then open your page now and take clicks. Take clicks. No, but only want to comment stuff and only take comments from people who you allow to be your friends, persons who you know will support your nonsense and uphold your dotishness. Open it up so that the rest of us could come and give all their wood. But anyway, let me see if I get it here. Right. Yes, now. I ain't getting this thing. I'm going to try it on another device here, folks. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up here. So, Miss Lady, as I said, produces this document. Right? Just now. Get her here. See if I get her here. So, right. 1 sec. All right, it's coming up here. Right. Marsha. Where? Yes, you keep playing bottom this morning too. So bear with me. Marsha. Noreen Walker. All right, let me see. I should get it here now. Perfect. Yes, here we go. Couple things there. Don't worry, I come into Kamla just now. You'll to miss this morning. Believe me. Trust me, you'll don't want to miss this morning. Right. Coming to the hypocrisy of Jillian John, I'm going to demonstrate to you all how corrupt this party is. You think it's easy? Let me get it here. Right. Yes. So here's what she put up. 1 day ago. Why are we so gullible, boy? Ask Rowley why he and his government favors the same lawyer who tried to use Section 34 to free Ish and Steve. Right? That's what she puts up. And the document she has, appearances, Mr. E. Fitzgerald, QC, Mr. F. Hossain, SC, Mr. R. Ramdas, Mr. A. Mamchan, instructed by Robin Otway on behalf of Steve Ferguson. So that's Steve Ferguson's attorneys, right? She highlights Mr. F. Hossain, SC, as the one PNM lawyer out of a team of 5 attorneys. And she says because of that means that Steve Ferguson should be handed to the PNM. That we should bolt Steve Ferguson to the chest of the PNM. She goes on to say, yes, imagine Rowley trying to say Section 34 was done to free Steve, but is a PNM lawyer who fight Annan all the way to the Privy Council to try to use the repealed law. One attorney. Well, if that is Marsha's logic, that the attorneys that represent you in court, and then she goes on, and anyway, let me find another one. As if you think that is bad enough. It gets more in. Typical Marsha. Right? Let me see. She goes on to put up another post that says, you cannot prove financiers, but you can always tell who somebody is linked to based on who represents them in court. All right? Well, Marsha, if you have any UNC supporters listening here, maybe you could tell Marsha I said this. All right? Since you want to bolt Steve Ferguson to the chest of the PNM by virtue of the fact that he was represented, out of 5 lawyers, 1 was a PNM attorney. AV drilling, fake oil, that all they keep propagating and pushing, right? And saying that is Rowley Friend, the owner of AV drilling, is a gentleman by the name of Nizam Bash. Right? They know that name because they talk about that and they're still talking about it. The supporters, AV drilling, and we were back the 100 million and the thief and all that. And Rowley was involved in that bacchanal and he eat our food and he shut down Petrotrain so that he could protect the owner of AV drilling, Nizam Bash. If Marsha's logic is that how you identify a person's political allegiance is based on who represents them in court, and they say AV drilling and the fake oil is PNM, well, here it is, Marsha. Nizam Bash's attorney, or attorneys, plural, in the arbitration between Petrotrim and AV drilling, his attorneys were Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, Jagdeo Singh, and Prakash Ramada. Not one, as was the case with Steve, 3 UNC lawyers represented the owner of AV drilling. Not one PNM lawyer was retained by him in that matter. All 3 UNC lawyers. So based on your logic, Marsha, all you take fake oil. Yeah? Take fake oil, take AV drilling. Since all you say the thief and the so on, and your logic is that political allegiance is based on, easily determined based on who represents you in court, and there's 3 UNC attorneys that represent fake oil, well then, all you take that. Bolt that to all your chest. Yeah? Based on your stupid, dotish logic. And this is the mouthpiece of the UNC. One of the activists who's at the forefront. I understand that they replaced Kirk and she's the new PRO. I haven't seen it officially, but unofficially, that is what I am hearing. Hence the reason all day she happened. I see she posted again on her Facebook page yesterday. So now they're focusing again on the east-west corridor. So they had a walkabout in Tunapuna yesterday. The whole lot of them, right? All of them come out. They bring the waterfront elk and whoever else they could get maxi loads to walk into Tunapuna to make it look like they have support. Long street, real pictures and videos they put up, but nobody coming out of the house to talk to them, eh? Right. But that's the impression that they want to give. But they're focusing on the east-west corridor, but we're ready for you. Come, we waiting. Right? She put up a picture of a guy by the name of Dominic Smith. And here the caption she put. Let me read it for you. Right? Silly person. Here the caption. When the detractors want to talk about PNM attracting talent because they sign up Richie Rich from Central. Right? Really, Marsha? Dominic Smith is a PNM reject. That's what you're proud of? A PNM reject? You try to get through in PNM and they blank him because you want to go up a seat and they take him on. And so you have X and decide to cross the floor and go to the UNC and that's what you begin up your chest about? Really? Well, fine. If you all want to take PNM rubbish, no problem. Feel free to come and rummage too. Or they can come and line up in front of Balize house and when we put in all the trash, see what they can dig up and go with it. Yeah. That's he didn't pass, he couldn't get the first choice, so he ended up defaulting to second choice, UNC. And that shouldn't even be our second choice, it'll probably be 5th or 6th. But anyway, to each his own, I wish him all the best. But that's what I'm proud of. No problem, Marsha. Yeah? So that is the pot-home, Marsha Walker. So just get that message from her now. Because I can't, but I don't know if anybody on here is her friend on her Facebook page and you all can still comment, tell her I say so. And she could check out the page too. Now, let me deal with the mistress of the mask and the hypocrisy as it pertains to, let me pull this up here. Right. So, that is it. As it pertains to the civil case brought against the state, by the state, against Brian Quaitom, Steve Ferguson, and who's the third one? Right, Raul Gutierrez. 100 million minimum, looking at 125 million or thereabout, when we factor in costs for all the money that has been spent on attorneys since 2004 in dealing with this matter. We're looking at over $1 billion TT dollars. You would think that as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago first, that UNC, the hierarchy, come down, would be happy about this, right? Because hey, the country's coffers stands to get a piece of money. No such joy coming from that party. Why? Because the persons who are accused and the persons who may be called upon to deliver the money are associated with that party, so they're vexed. Surprisingly, I-95.5 on Friday, I think it was able to get Kamla Persad-Bissessar to do a rare interview. Very rare interview. I think she only does an interview like that once every decade. So they were fortunate that this Friday they were able to get her to do this telephone interview, right? And I could not believe my ears that I needed to listen to 2 or 3 newscasts to hear them replay a clip of what this lady said when certain questions were posed to her with respect to getting some sort of comment on that matter, right? She said, I'm quoting her here, well, this thing is big business and there's likely to be an appeal. So I would want to wait until the outcome of the appeal before I comment further. She wants to wait until the outcome of the appeal to comment because this is, as she say, big business. But since last year, she running her mouth on this case, right? Since last year, almost every Monday night forum, she had to talk about that. Lymon, Reginald Lamont needs to go because he lied on an affidavit with respect to the case and he said he misrepresented the role that he would have played or the relationship he had towards Brian Quaitong. And just a few weeks ago, she was saying because Lymon lied on the affidavit and he embarrassed the country, that we stand a strong possibility that the case is going to be thrown out because of that. And all the money that has been spent on this case for the last how many ever years would go down the drain. Really? But when it is, the Attorney General would have appealed the first decision of the court, the Supreme Court, to disqualify him and the law firm Sequoia Law from representing the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the matter by virtue of the relationship that Mr. Amo had with Mr. Quaitong some time ago. She wasn't willing to wait for the outcome of the appeal. No. She had plenty to say. Yapping, running your mouth, whole time. Even before the appeal file, you had plenty to say. All of a sudden, now you get pipped. You can't talk. You want to wait until the outcome of the appeal. Why? Because you will probably sit down whole night with your fingers crossed, your legs crossed, and every other part of your body that could cross, hoping that the case would have gone the other way so that you could have come and run your mouth. You wouldn't have wait for no appeal. You would have come to say, yes, Lymon must go, all the money they spend, and they say it's thief and the UNC corrupt, and look, the case get thrown out. But you were disappointed that it went the other way. So all of a sudden now, you know about due process. All of a sudden, you know about innocence until proven guilty. Yes. All of a sudden she know that, but she didn't know that for the last year running her mouth to talk about the case, about Sequoia Law and all of this and everything that happening. But now you want to stay quiet. But that wasn't the worst of it, The worst of it was when she said, I don't know how many of you listened to the interview or heard the clips on the news, where she said, and I'm quoting her here, but this case had nothing to do with me. I hope you remember that because this case is 20 years old and I was just a peewat. Really? So she wants to distance herself, but you said it was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. You said that 3 weeks ago. And now, 3 weeks later, US court finds these men guilty, orders them to pay a ton of money, and you want to distance yourself. This case has nothing to do with me. I hope you remember that. Because this case was 20 years old and I was just a peewat. You were just a peewat, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, in 2004. When the PNM came back into office in 2002 and continued the investigation that you discontinued as Attorney General in 2001, that this case, the initial investigation that unearthed the evidence that led to this case started under an administration of which you were a central part. In fact, you were the Attorney General for a period of time. So you were privy to all of the information that would have been unearthed during the initial investigation conducted by Carl Hudson Phillip and Robert Lindquist. You are on record as having attempted to fire these men, to come up with some innovative way to bring an end to the investigation, which I will shortly tell you all why that happened. Sometimes it's good to do some research. Let me say good morning to my good friend. I'm going to call the name, but the person knows themselves, right? She was Attorney General. She was the one, when she became Attorney General after Pandey fired Ramesh Maharaj in 2001, rather than going after the wrongdoers, decided to go after the men who unearthed the wrongdoing by questioning the procedure or the process by which they were retained by her predecessor to say, well, look, Ramesh didn't do this thing above board, and therefore this brief is not correct, and so therefore we must bring it to an end. But I read for you all a couple of days ago the letter from Carl Hudson Phillips, where he basically told her, "Hey, what you had to fire me? I fired myself. I told Ramesh I would only work up until just before the election. After the election, if he is still AG and he wants to continue to retain my services, he could do so. So don't worry, it's in the retainer. You could in the letter of engagement. Read it and see. You see you ain't get a copy. I send a copy for you. So don't worry yourself. Don't come up with no fancy ways and try to bust your head to see how you could fire me. As I put it in the agreement that I fire myself before you became Attorney General. So for this woman to come and say, this case has nothing to do with me, I hope you remember that, because it was 20 years ago and I was just a PWAT. What the hell is a PWAT? You're trying to say you had little to no involvement in this whole investigation? You're trying to exonerate yourself? Well, this is the one time I believe Kamala Prasad says so when she says her hands are clean. Because just before that interview, she went and got as much soap as she could to wash her hands of the whole matter. To wash her hands of the entire matter. So don't try to pin it on me, because I was just a PWAT. I don't know nothing about it. But you said 3 weeks ago it was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign. So why are you not holding fast to that? 3 weeks ago you was defending your men. All of a sudden now you want to distance yourself from them? You don't want nothing to do with that? Really? You can't be serious. You cannot be serious. I didn't know they allow her to get away with that. To get away with that nonsense about she was just a PWAT. But I get into that. If you all thought, not that you all need any further evidence as to why the United National Congress under Kamala Prasad Bisesa or any other leader should never form the government of this country again, I will give you some more evidence this morning, right? Not that you need any, but I'm going to give you some. So in the wake of this latest development with a civil case, right, and the decision of the DPP 3 weeks ago or so to discontinue the matter against Pandey and others in Piako Airport 3, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa came out brazen face, and say it was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign that was designed to make the UNC look corrupt. There's no corruption there. All of that is just PNM lies, make up, PNM propaganda, right? She said that. And sitting in the audience, listening to her say that and characterize that whole scandal, that whole project as a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign was none other than the deputy political leader of the UNC, Jillian John. Jillian sat down in that audience and listened to Kamala say that, repeated, and she applauded Kamala. Yes, leader, well done. Not only that, Monday gone, she was the speaker before Kamala. Although, Kamala said she was under the weather, so she couldn't really speak much. So they allowed Jillian to take up some of her speaking time. And oh boy, Jillian went down to praise Kamala. She's the best thing since sliced bread, and Kamala this and Kamala that, and best prime minister and all of that, right? Basically selling Kamala Prasad Bisesa to you, the population. That she's better than Keith Rowley. She's perhaps the best prime minister this country has ever had, this country has ever seen, and you need to give her another 2. This is Jillian John. Shameless. Jillian John has no integrity, and I will demonstrate that to you today. Has no shame. And as I always say, all the dogs in that party suffering from malnutrition because they have no shame for them to eat. They have no shame in that party. Jillian John sat down in that meeting and basically allowed Kamala Prasad Bisesa to call her a damn blasted liar. Yeah? She didn't say it in those words. But when Kamala said that the Piako project was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt, she basically called Jillian John a liar. Permit me to read for you this morning transcripts from the testimony of one Jillian John in the year 2003 as she testified in the Piako Airport Commission of Inquiry. Right? I am going to read some of those transcripts for you all, and you'll understand why I say that when Jillian John sat down in that meeting, listened to Kamala characterize that project as a PNM smear campaign and applauded that, why she has no integrity, she's shameless, and should never form part of any government in this country. But of course, if you, well, not you all, But the wider citizenry, the electorate of this country, should play fast and loose for their vote in 2025 and put these people back in office. Let me explain to you the character of some of the people. Jillian John, as deputy political leader of the UNC, is likely to be a senior cabinet minister. Let me read this for you. I am reading here an article entitled, and this is dated the 2nd of June, 2003, an article by one Annabelle Brasnell, TNT Guardian. The Commission of Inquiry, and listen closely here, into the Piarco Airport project heard yesterday that former Prime Minister Basdio Pandey knew about the indiscipline and greed displayed by some people on the project. In her second day of testimony, former Minister of Transport Jillian John revisited her impressions of the project when she became minister in 2000. John was given authority over the project with her swearing in as Minister of Transport, but she said she never felt like the leader. She said after being introduced at the first meeting, she was basically ignored as discussions continued and decisions were made ad hoc. She later expanded on the meeting, stating, hear this, the greed was palpable. You could feel it. It was nasty. Let me repeat that. She later expanded on the meeting, saying the greed was palpable. You could feel it. It was nasty. The meeting, hear who the meeting was. The meeting was a gathering of an interministerial committee charged with overseeing the project, contractors and airport authority staff. You know what is an interministerial committee? It is a committee comprising several cabinet ministers. Not one, not two, several cabinet ministers. And Jillian John, under oath, is telling the Commission of Inquiry in 2003 that this interministerial committee, when she, having recently been appointed as the Minister of Transport, attended her first meeting of this interministerial committee comprising several cabinet ministers, she is telling the Commission the greed was palpable. You could feel it. It was nasty. This is Jillian John, the sitting deputy political leader of the UNC. I continue. Asked by Commission Chairman Clinton Bernard if she was not the de jure leader by law and de facto leader in fact, John said, not de facto. Yes, de jure, but not de facto. There were a lot more people more powerful than me on that project. Even the client representative, Peter Cato, was more powerful, she said. Eventually, having perused several documents on the project, she said she decided to speak to the Prime Minister because someone had to stop the insanity. It was getting worse every day. The words of Jillian John, the sitting deputy political leader of the United National Congress. She went on, and let me just repeat that for emphasis. Eventually, having perused several documents on the projects, she now come in as Transport Minister, and now come in. John said she decided to speak to the Prime Minister because someone had to stop the insanity. It was getting worse every day. At a meeting with Pandey in his Whitehall office, John said she told him, sir, you have a very indisciplined project at Piarco. Too many people are talking. Too many people are making decisions. We need to put this to rest quietly. In other words, we need to stop it and we need to cover it up. She told the Commission, Pandey's response to the indiscipline was, I am aware. She said he further told her, the project is a milch cow and there is a feeding frenzy. I will remove the interministerial committee. Let me repeat that for you. This is Jillian John's testimony under oath to the Commission of Inquiry in 2003. She told the Commission, Pandey's response to the indiscipline was, I am aware. She said he further told her the project is a milch cow and there is a feeding frenzy. I will remove the interministerial committee. So he knew where the feeding frenzy was, in his interministerial committee that comprised several cabinet ministers. Several cabinet ministers. He knew. He said, I'm aware. You ain't telling me nothing, you know. You know come in. You know come in the dance. You know what it, but I know. I am aware. Right? He called it a milch cow. I go on. Emily Elias, member of the Joint Consultative Council, previously gave hearsay evidence on Pandey's statement, but this is the first time that John has given a personal hand account. Elias's testimony was based on his hearing a radio show where John appeared to talk about the project. So she didn't only mention this in the Commission of Inquiry. She went on radio and repeated what she said, that she went to Pandey, told him about the feeding frenzy, told him about what was happening in the project, and Pandey said, I know, I'm aware. Up until that point, he did nothing. Up until that point, being aware that this interministerial committee comprising several members of his cabinet was engaging in a feeding frenzy, as he called it, a milch cow, he did nothing about it. Up until that time, it didn't occur to him to disband the interministerial committee. But Jillian John, now coming the dance, just appointed as minister, when she still had some integrity, went to him and tell him, sir, all I did was review some documents. Same thing that Bob Lindquist did. Same thing Bob Lindquist did. She reviewed some documents, saw the theft, the graft, the corruption, and felt it was so overwhelming, as she called it. It was palpable. The greed was palpable. It was nasty. I need to talk to the prime minister about this thing. This is crazy. And as she said, it's getting worse every day. The insanity must stop. Asked by Bernard what she felt Pandey meant by milch cow and feeding frenzy, John said she didn't try to interpret the statement, but I knew that he understood what I felt and was willing to help. She didn't want to interpret what a milch cow is. Well, let me tell you, I did my research, and the dictionary describes or defines a milch cow as a person or an organization from whom it is very easy to get money to one's heart's content. As much as you want, you could get it. That is the definition of a milch cow. And those are Pandey's words to her. Milch cow, feeding frenzy. This is Jillian John, then Minister of Transport, now the deputy political leader of the UNC, who sat down in a meeting and heard Kamla Persad-Bissessar say that the Piarco Airport project, the scandal, was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. And she, Jillian John, who had first-hand experience with the corruption, that was so overwhelming that during her second day of testimony, she broke down in tears. And the commissioners had to give her some time to compose herself. She was so overwhelmed that she started to cry, right? But you heard Kamla make that characterization, lie through her teeth, not just to the audience there, but to the national public. And you clap that and say, yes, leader, get him. Yes. And then come last week, Monday, and praise Kamla and sing Kamla's praises, trying to convince this country that Kamla Persad-Bissessar is the best thing they could ever get to rescue them from this wicked and evil PNM. Jillian John, a possible future minister, not possible, should the UNC, God forbid, get back into office as the deputy political leader, heartbeat away from the leadership, just under Kamla, occupying the highest echelons of power in that party. Listen to her leader say that. Listen to her colleagues call press conference and lie and say that it was a PNM smear campaign. And you ain't saying nothing. But you went to Pandey and you told him. And Pandey said, I am aware. You ain't telling me nothing that I don't know. He is aware. So you all understand why Bob Lindquist said that after the election of 2000, when Ramesh was fired, that the government refused to continue to fund the Anti-Corruption Bureau, refused to give them the resources that they needed to continue the investigation. Why? Because you had an interministerial committee comprising several cabinet ministers, who, as Jillian John described, the greed was palpable. It was nasty. So it wasn't just one or two. It was several government ministers who were involved in this racket, who were stealing from you, the taxpayers of this country. But Kamla want to tell you and to tell me that what? That it was a smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. No, madam. You're damn corrupt. Just remember, I always say you cannot spell the word corruption without the letters UNC. How convenient. How convenient to make all. No, nobody don't need to make you all look corrupt. You all are corrupt to the hilt. And always talking about PNM and event corruption. You all refine it. You all have mastered the craft of corruption. And here it is that you had a cabinet of which Kamla Persad-Bissessar was a significant part. And so that when Pandey fired Ramesh, he had a choice. Who do I put as Attorney General to replace Ramesh? Who can I trust to put all of these investigations that Ramesh was looking into, to put them to bed? Who can I trust? Who do I know has little to no integrity whatsoever? Who is driven by ambition? And I could assure if I put that person in that role, the headache that I have with Ramesh wanting to investigate the Salcott, Incogen, and all the other things, I'm not going to have that problem. I know I could rock back in my office and relax and know that the person I have sitting in the office of the Attorney General, the person occupying that seat, will have my back in respect of getting rid of any investigations that could make my government look bad, that could show up the UNC as being corrupt, that could get rid of any investigations or stop any further investigations that could uncover the fact that you had an interministerial team comprising several cabinet ministers was rubbing the population and the taxpayers of this country blind. This is Jillian John. Now, had it been anybody else, let me continue. Right. The committee by then Planning Minister John Humphrey was summarily dissolved at a later cabinet meeting. Only then, said John, was she able to assume full and complete control of the project. So before she went up and just come in, probably a couple of weeks, looking at these documents and seeing the bubble, the same documents that Ramesh Maharaj probably looked at and saw the bubble and decided to call in Carl Hudson Phillips and Bob Lindquist. The same documents that Kamla Persad-Bissessar would have had sight of as Attorney General. And if Jillian John, who is not an attorney, just come in, look at these documents, and in a short space of time, having recently been appointed the Minister of Transport, was so overwhelmed by what she saw, the level of corruption, that she felt she needed to go to the Prime Minister. How then did Kamla Persad-Bissessar, as the Attorney General, not come to Lindquist? When she would have looked at the supporting documents from which Bob Lindquist would have formed these conclusions. How is it that as the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, the legal advisor to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, in her capacity as AG, who took an oath to, in fact, swore to uphold the Constitution and the law, right? Swore her allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago. Jillian John looked at the documents. She saw corruption. Bob Lindquist looked at the documents. He saw corruption. Ramesh Maharaj looked at the documents. He saw corruption. Kamla Persad looked at the documents. No corruption. Everything is above board. I see no wrong here. I don't know what Ramesh is going on with. Right? So we hear from Jillian John, her mouth, that subsequently the interministerial committee that was headed by John Humphrey was summarily dissolved at a later cabinet meeting. Cabinet meeting. Cabinet of which Kamla Persad-Bissessar was a member. So I am certain she was aware of why Pandey dissolved the interministerial committee. Right? Because Pandey is not a madman. So the committee, you put together this committee to oversee this project, and just so you just come and decide you want to disband the committee, to dissolve the committee just so, and she doesn't know why. My question is, was Kamla Persad-Bissessar a member of this interministerial committee? I'm wondering, was she? Unfortunately, that aspect of Jillian John's testimony was done in camera, so that it is not in the public record, but it would be in the final report of the committee, right? But what baffles me is the fact that Jillian John, who was the Minister of Transport, said this in a public forum. This is out there, right? Where she says that the greed in an interministerial committee was palpable. It was nasty. And the police didn't investigate these ministers. Why? But the UNC now, they want investigation. They want investigation into everything with the PNM. They're calling on Ula Christopher to investigate. She needs to investigate witness tampering with respect to the Nelson Gate matter. She needs to investigate if it is Faris Al-Rabi is guilty of witness tampering with respect to the indemnity and all of that. Oh yes, all they want investigation. But a senior cabinet minister in 2003 on public record is stating that an interministerial committee comprising several government ministers may have been involved in corruption based on documents that she saw, right? And we see evidence with that this committee was dissolved by the Prime Minister because he says he was aware of what was taking place and no police investigation into these guys, right? Again, I asked the question, who were the other ministers in that interministerial committee? So we know John Humphrey was the chairman. Who were the others? Was Kamla Persad-Bissessar one of those? In what year did she buy the land on which she built the Pink Palace? I'm just asking because I recall her saying in 2010, 2011, there was when Mr. Manning would have come to Parliament with a picture of the palace and spoke about, how much money the house cost and all of that. And Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, she come with 2 old notebook with a set of doggers to say, well, my husband and I, for the last 10 years, we've been, putting up chirrup to try and build the house, and it's been difficult. So when we make a piece of money, we buy some blocks, we buy some cement and all of that. We bought some steel, some galvanized, and, piece by piece, bit by bit over 10 years. Now, 10 years will take us back to the year 2000, right? 2010. I just asking, when did she purchase that piece of land? I don't know. But was she on that committee? So we heard Bob Lindquist say that after the election, investigation stopped. No funding available for the committee. No money. Just so the government decided, right, we stop funding the Anti-Corruption Bureau. It was only when the PNM came in under Mr. Manning that the investigation restarted and the Manning administration recalled Bob Lindquist. Right? So this is Jillian John. I read on further. Come to it. Just let me get it. Right. Why Ramesh was fired. Where is it? Read this for you. This is an article Tuesday, March 29th, 2009 in Jyoti Communication. Former Prime Minister Basdeo Pandey is going back into history to explain why he dispensed with his Attorney General. Pandey told reporters Monday night in Debe he fired Ramesh Lawrence Maraj from his cabinet because he was using state funds to build files on his cabinet colleagues. I imagine those cabinet colleagues would have been those who were on this interministerial committee that Jillian John told us about the feeding frenzy, and the greed was palpable. Pandey speaking here. Ramesh was fired as Attorney General because he was using state funds without the authority of cabinet to build files on his colleagues in the cabinet. That is why he was fired, not because he was investigating any corruption, Pandey said. Really? Really? But Maraj has dismissed the charges totally incorrect, adding that Pandey knew that the Attorney General had hired Canadian forensic investigator Bob Lindquist to investigate the Piarco and desalination projects. The report was prepared and a copy was given to Mr. Pandey, Maraj told the Express. Maraj said, because no action was taken, I asked Mr. Pandey what he was doing about it, and he said he had lost the report. I then gave him another copy. Still no action was taken. And while he was Minister of National Security, I went to him for feedback on the report, and it was then he fired me. Maraj said he would say more to reporters on Wednesday. Right. This is Ramesh Maraj telling you he gave the report to Pandey. Nothing happened. Pandey called him to say, hey, come, let me discuss this thing now. This thing's serious. Based on the information that I'm seeing here, what this current Canadian forensic accountant has uncovered, this is a serious thing. Come. As the Attorney General, come, let me talk. You need to advise us on how we should proceed. What you do? Nothing. Ramesh called him, boss, about a month now I get a report, 2 months, I ain't hear nothing from you. What's going on? But I lost the report now. All right, I'll send you a next copy. Send him another copy. Still nothing. And when it is he approach him again to find out, well, what is going on? What do you do? Fire the man. Pandey took control of the Ministry of National Security. You remember when he put up his hand and he said, can't do nothing more with respect to fighting crime? But in doing so, by taking control of the Ministry of National Security, the Anti-Corruption Bureau was under him. So he could now have control over any investigations that was being undertaken by that entity with respect to any allegations of corruption against the Pandey administration. So the Anti-Corruption Bureau had to report to him. And here it is that you have this man who had an interministerial committee charged with one of the largest projects in this country's history up to that time. Some $1.4 to $1.6 billion. Right? It was every thief for himself. You never see this kind of money before. There's plenty of money. Let me see how much we could get. I am aware, the words of Basdeo Pandey. This is what he told Jillian John. I am aware. How much was Kamla Prasad Bisesa aware of? Again, I ask the question. On what basis did Pandey choose Kamla to put her as Ramesh Maraj's successor? Why her? He had so many other choices. He could have brought somebody to the Senate, made them the Attorney General, just as the current Attorney General came to the Senate. So had to be an elected representative. Why her? Why was he so confident that the headaches that he had been getting from Ramesh with respect to investigations into wrongdoing on the part of cabinet ministers, he would not have that problem with Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Hence the reason we saw that as soon as she came in, the first thing she sought to do was to go after Lindquist and Carl Hudson Phillips. Was she carrying out the instructions that was given to her by her boss? Is that what she was doing? Because I can't understand how everybody else, Bob Lindquist, Ramesh Maharaj, Jillian John, who now come in the dance, and neophyte she was happy with, could read the same documents, come to the same conclusion that there is endemic corruption in this project, and you, as the Attorney General, who has to advise the government on the way forward, how to proceed with this. UNC, no corruption. UNC, no corruption. Right? So for months, Pandey sat down on this report. For months, sat down on it with the evidence, the findings there, did nothing about it. Allowed the milk cow, as he called it, to continue to flourish, to continue to rape the treasury of this country, to continue to rob you, the citizens of this country. For months, he allowed it to happen. Didn't see the need to disband this interministerial committee that he described as a feeding frenzy and a milk cow. But only when Jolene come and she talk and he realized, boy, this thing's spreading too much people know. And Jolene looked like she have a little bit of integrity, because if she now come in and she come and she tell me that she is a part of this committee, she, having had the first meeting or the second meeting of the committee, as the case may be, she didn't fall in line. She didn't say, well, everybody thieving, well, let me thief too. Eh? If everybody in it, and the greed is so palpable, well, let me get my cut too. She didn't do that. She still had some integrity then, so she ran to Pandey in the hope that he, as the Prime Minister, El Capo de Tutti Capi, the boss of bosses, that he could have stopped it. And he gave Shell something to hold. He disbanded the interministerial committee, but by that time, everybody done thief. They didn't finish thief, but they thief plenty. So he was prepared. If Jolene hadn't gone to him, let it continue, man. Because hey, if this word of this gets out, we could lose the election. If word of this gets out, the UNC will look corrupt. Can't let that get out. So I'll give her what she wants. I will disband the committee, because that's the main thing that she's complaining about. Now, if Jillian John had one iota of integrity, right? She seemed to have had some at the point in time, but it was limited, because somebody else, having gone to the Prime Minister, thinking that the Prime Minister didn't know, and you presented this information to him, and he says to you, I'm aware. Somebody else of integrity, as soon as they leave the office and they go back to the office, they would have turn on the computer, type up the resignation letter one time. I want no part of that. Because if you know this was going on all the time, right? That several of your cabinet ministers in this committee robbing the citizens blind, and you did nothing about it. And it's only now that I come to you and you're pretending, oh, yeah, no kill. I know. You know, Baz? Really? But the DPP discontinue that matter. So Basdio Pandey will never face a court for the role that he played in that matter. He will not. He can rest easy now. For whatever few years he has left above ground, he can relax, knowing that he will never have to face a courtroom. And the citizens of this country will never get justice for the role that he played as Prime Minister, the boss, the man who could have fixed the problem. All because it was party before country. Because if it is, this is exposed, as Bob Lindquist described it, as the greatest act of corruption ever perpetrated on the citizens of this country. And this is Bob Lindquist, who investigated O'Halloran, and is telling you that this Piarco project is bigger than anything O'Halloran did. And Pandey, as Prime Minister, allowed it to fester. So when it was a little sore, he ain't deal with it. It started to get infected, he ain't dealing with it. He put a plaster on it. He ain't treating it. And it getting worse and worse to the point that it became gangrenous and he had to amputate. And still at that time, he wasn't prepared to deal with it. So only because Jillian John came at that time. Tell him about it. And he attempted to do something to assuage, but he knew that there would be no further investigations into the matter, because he could trust the person that he put in the chair of Attorney General, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who is today telling you that she is the only person who could save this country from the morass of the PNM. That she deserves another term in office as Prime Minister. That she will come on a Monday night platform and lie to the citizens of this country, knowing full well all that I just told you that Jillian John testify to, right? Under oath. And that Jillian John would sit down and allow Kamala to say that, knowing the testimony that she gave, knowing that it is in the public domain. Well, sort of, because I see now the head of the Transparency, the former head of Transparency International is asking the Prime Minister and the government now to release the report, the final report, into the Commission of Inquiry. It has yet to be released, right? And of course, we know if it is that the Prime Minister does that, the first thing they will do is run to the courthouse to say that the report should be squashed because they didn't get an opportunity to respond. Right? So do like what Kamala did with the live sport report. Put it in the public domain before the persons who are so named are given an opportunity to respond to the report. And then they will run to the courthouse to say due process wasn't followed, that we weren't given an option and the opportunity to reply to what is in here, the allegations made against us. And therefore the court will say, squash the report. And is the government inclined now to go and do another commission of inquiry? No, that makes no sense. So right now, the government of Trinidad finds itself between a rock and a hard place. When the PNM came back in office in 2015, Faris Al-Rawi, as Attorney General, made the point that between 2010 to 2015, little to nothing was done to advance this civil case, which he, as former Attorney General and corporate representative for Trinidad and Tobago, would have been able to secure that victory. That between 2010 to 2015, Anna and Ram Logan did precious little. So to hear Kamala Persad-Bissessar say, this case has nothing to do with me, I hope you remember that, because it was 20 years old and I was just a peewat. You were the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. This was perhaps the most significant international civil suit that the Attorney General would have had on his desk between 2010 to 2015. You are telling me that at no point in time did Anna Ram Logan come to the cabinet to speak on this issue? At no point in time did Anna Ram Logan come to the cabinet to request funds to pay the lawyers, the legal fees of the attorneys who are representing the state in this matter in the United States court between 2010 to 2015? At no point in time did Anna Ram Logan look into this matter for that 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Hence the reason Faris could come and say that the case was at risk of being thrown out. When they came in 2015, the case was at risk of being thrown out in the American court because there was little to no activity on that matter between 2010 to 2015. Why is that? Why is that? As the Prime Minister of the country, regardless of your political affiliation, the party that you lead, your responsibility is to follow up on any matter that is in the public interest, particularly when we're talking about at least $32 million in restitution. At least 32 million. So it didn't occur to you to inquire into that, right? We know that you all had a vested interest, in fact, a particular interest in everything to do with that matter, Section 34. In fact, when you all first came in 2011, as a matter of fact, we know the situation with Ish and Steve. That was a topic, a top issue for Anand. Because when it is the local court decided to, under, I can't remember if it's the judge was Rahim or Pudu Singh, whichever one of them, right, had overturned the decision of Ram Logan to sign the extradition order. Ram Logan took the decision not to appeal the case, right? Much to the amazement, much to the surprise of several persons, chief among them, David West, who at that time was the head of the competent authority, which is the entity charged with the responsibility for dealing with extradition. And Mr. West would have gone into great detail to tell us all of the work that had been done up to that point in time to extradite Ish and Steve to the US. Hence the reason when the UNC came in and this local court took a decision to quash the decision by Ram Logan to sign the extradition paper, that Ram Logan had time to appeal and he chose not to. And Mr. West couldn't understand the logic in that. Right? And he was given instructions by Mr. Ram Logan not to proceed with the appeal. Because in Mr. Ram Logan's determination as Attorney General, the men would stand a better chance of being tried in Trinidad and Tobago in a much quicker fashion than in the US. Meanwhile, at that point in time in the US, you had 4 other people, among them Raul Gutierrez, who is mentioned as a defendant in this civil suit, who pled guilty, who paid over $22 million in restitution, and who served jail time. He and others in the US were being tried and serving time. So that when I hear the UNC now, some of the ill-informed and misinformed mouthpieces talking about, oh, on appeal, they will get through because Steve Ferguson said this and Steve Ferguson said that, and he said that that the government lawyers try to buy lunch for the jury and all kind of nonsense and so on, and they try to bribe the jury with lunch and all kind of foolishness. No lunches were provided, right? All right, the judge said no lunches, so they weren't bribed. They received nothing. But the fact is, Faris is not a madman to go up there and say, let me buy lunch for the jury now, right? Clearly, the state didn't provide lunch for the jury, okay? And Faris is an attorney of long standing, so he knows what protocol is. Now, the law in Trinidad is different to the law in the US, and my understanding, based on comments that I saw persons who live in the US say that it is a normal thing for the prosecution and the defense to come together to make a decision in certain instances to provide lunches for the jury, right? So it had to have been that this would have been a suggestion of the lawyers and not Faris, all right? But the UNC, don't worry, that's probably the only thing they will talk about tomorrow night on the Monday Night Forum. She didn't want to talk about the appeal. She didn't want to talk nothing else until the appeal come through. But she'll probably talk about, speaker after speaker, they'll probably talk about that. And then you'll see the Doglaya will probably come, a surprise, he didn't talk about it yet. He'll probably come tonight or tomorrow night and talk about that. Nothing else with respect to the case. That's all they're going to come to talk about. But from 2010 to 2015, nothing was done to advance this case. Allegations were made that Kamla Prasad Bisesa received 2 checks from Steve totaling $8 million to facilitate Section 34. She has never addressed that matter, and she did not sue the person who made the claim. Didn't sue him. Lest she should attempt to sue and evidence be provided of the 2 checks. I don't want to risk that. So let me leave that alone. Let sleeping dogs lie. I just say, because I could see no other reason why such a damning allegation was made and you didn't sue the person who said it. Probably because you figure, maybe you have something in the arsenal there. I don't want to choke that hornet's nest. So you know what? Let me hush my mouth. Let me leave that alone. Big allegation like that, right? Section 34, again, another allegation. So all of these things that were done, the decision not to appeal the case, to proceed with the extradition, the decision by the then Attorney General, Anand Ram Logan, right, not to proceed with the appeal, as I said, much to the chagrin and the surprise of the head of the competent authority and a number of other persons, senior attorneys who were involved in all of that, surprised that they didn't follow through on it. And no proper explanation was given other than, in his personal view, they could get a fair trial in Trinidad and Tobago. And here we are, 20 odd years later. They're yet to come before the court to answer to those charges. But I was making the point before to the persons in the UNC who feel that the appeal may fail. Just remember, the court came to this decision based on what we've read, overwhelming evidence. 1, and 2, one of the 3 defendants named in this lawsuit, Raul Gutierrez, already pled guilty. He pled guilty. He paid over $22 million in restitution in the US. So he can't come around now and say, I'm not guilty, because he already pled guilty, served jail time, and pay money. So we're going to get that money at least from him, right? Because he is on record. That seal, signed, sealed, and delivered. He pled guilty. The other 2, Kwaitong and Steve, those are the other 2 who fighting it. According to Steve, Kwaitong paid over $32 million in legal fees already. And Steve said he's paid considerably more than that. So between 32 million for Kwaitong, and if he paid considerably more than that, he paid at least 32 million. So that's about 64, 65 million TT dollars they already pay in legal fees. When they could have pled guilty years ago, paid that in restitution to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. No, you rather pay it in legal fees. I'm talking a pack of nonsense now, but the case wasn't fair, and the judge showed the thing because, and all kind of thing with them. All kind of thing with them, but the USA making joke. And I hope to see that this matter is expedited. Now it's all kind of thing they're coming up with. Yeah, they win the case, but how are they going to get our money? How are they going to get that money? What are they going to do? Thing. Media houses, they want to know. They ain't get enough. They want to know more. You all weren't interested in it on Wednesday night. No, none of you all carried it on the evening news. None of you all posted it up on your Facebook pages. We had to find out about it. What is because Paris put it out. That is how we got to know. But all of a sudden now, the Express and the Guardian and whoever else, all of them want information. We need not enough information has been put in the public domain. The public hasn't been given enough information for them to make an informed decision. It's Wednesday. Wednesday, the judgment was handed down. Today's Sunday. 4 days. What do you expect? Go and do your journalism. If you all were interested in getting transcripts, you would have had a reporter embedded in the matters in the US following the case all the time. So we could have gotten first-hand information based on what was handed down. But you all weren't interested in that. No, you didn't send anybody up there to get information. And you knew since the 6th of March, this case has been going on. So miss us now with this BS about we need more information and don't give you enough information. The information will come. But coming back to my original point with respect to Kamla Persad-Bissessar, people, I keep hearing they thief, but they do. I am seeing on several Facebook pages when the different media houses put out their posts and so on about different things with respect to the government, and you read in the comments some of the nasty things people are saying about the government. You know why? Because it is things like this that they're not aware of. They're not aware of the character of the people who are putting themselves forward to you, to serve you as ministers in a future government 2025 and beyond. That you have a deputy political leader of the UNC who testified under oath that the Piarco Airport project was a scandal, and not only a scandal, it was a theft, right? Perpetrated on the citizens of this country. She testified that the Prime Minister then knew what was happening. That several government ministers were caught up in this thing. An interministerial committee comprising several government ministers were robbing you. The greed was palpable. It was nasty. Her words. How many of those persons are still involved in the UNC today? How many of them are going to put themselves forward for office come 2025? They have already shown that they have the propensity to thief in a big way. And you have a deputy political leader who is prepared to sit down and listen to her leader lie through her teeth, misrepresent the truth. She has first-hand evidence, right? Experience of the wrongdoing that took place. And not once will Jillian John come and speak to the issue. Instead, she will allow Kamla Persad-Bissessar to lie. She will allow other speakers to have the press conferences and lie, misrepresent the truth so that they could get back into office. But she has demonstrated she has no integrity. And as she told Pandey, and let me quote her, we need to put this to rest quietly. What does that mean? We need to cover it up. We need to hush. We need to find a way to make it go away without the public and anybody ever knowing. So all who thief, right? We can't let that get out. We need to put this to rest quietly. Who thief, let them go with whatever money they thief. But tell them they need to stop. Don't thief no more. And we need to put a lid on this. This is basically what she says. We need to put this to rest quietly. When they want to talk about cover-up, when the issue with Darrell Smith and the 150,000, no, it's a big cover-up and a cover-up. And a big cover-up. All you know about cover-up then. But here it is that Jillian John told Pandey, we need to put this to rest quietly. And this is somebody who has aspirations of serving in another government in this country for 5 years, another 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, who is demonstrating she has no integrity. That she will allow her leader to lie when she knows the truth. She knows what went down. She knows if Kamla Persad-Bissessar was part of this interministerial committee. She knows if she had gone and spoken to Kamla Persad-Bissessar in her capacity as Attorney General. She knows what she would have gone and told Ramesh as the Attorney General at the time, what she has uncovered. All of that. So she knows that that project was rife with corruption, greed, graft, you name it. She knows that. And would sit down in a Monday night forum with Kamla staring her in her face and clap and applaud that liar. And then come 3 weeks later to put her up as being the savior of this country. So Kamla is the best thing. Singing her praises, and you know she's a liar. Right? And talking about it was designed to make the UNC look corrupt. When you know it was steeped in corruption. From the Prime Minister go down. And you are prepared now to go back into government in 2025 with the same mindset that if any corruption comes up, you will go to Kamla and say, we need to put this to rest quietly. That is why Ramesh said, I think it was in 2010, was it, when he went for screening, and the question was put to him, if it is that you are selected as the candidate and you are successful at the election and the government is formed, and while the government is in operation, you uncover corruption in the government, what would you do? And he told them he would report it to the police. What happened after that? That was the end of Ramesh. That was the end of Ramesh's political career. Why was that specific question put to him? Was that question put to all of the other candidates, the successful candidates? That if it is, we should form the government, and the government is accused of corruption, and you have evidence, as Jillian had, as the Minister of Transport, what would you do? Right? So that is why, when Stacey Rupnarine sent her the letter, what you do? You had to report it to the Prime Minister. And she, as Prime Minister, did the same thing Pandey did. When Jillian went to him, what do you do? Nothing. You dissolve the Interministerial Committee, you fire the Attorney General who was going hell hard after corruption. You fire him, and you put in your lackey to replace him because you know she was pliable and she would do your bidding. And when she became Prime Minister, when Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell wrote to her with respect to the corruption involving what was happening in the Attorney General's office and suspicions with respect to Anand Ramlogan, what did she do? Send a letter to Anand and tell him, investigate yourself. Next thing you know, an unsigned letter sent to Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell, prepared with a statement for her to affix her signature to it, right? Saying that it was all a misconception, that she made an error, that what she reported to the Prime Minister in the letter, it was just now, it was a mix-up, she was just misinformed. And then shortly thereafter, you see what happened. She moved from being Solicitor General and she became a judge. Stacey Rupnarine, the board of NIDCO, expressing concerns with respect to possible interference by the Minister of Works and Infrastructure, possible bid rigging for a particular contractor from South who had no experience whatsoever in building an overpass and interchange. And that was typical of them at that time, giving contracts to people with no experience, right? SIS had no experience in building a wastewater treatment plant, but somehow his company, right? SIS got the contract, $1 billion contract. They bid more than the 58-year-old company that had 58 years of experience, international experience in building wastewater treatment plants. A local company that had absolutely zero experience, they won the contract for far more money than the company with the 58 years experience, right? Typical. That is what they used to do. The bagman, Pararat and his mommy, opened company in 2011, bidding for all kind of contracts, have zero experience, none. In most cases, the bids that they put in for these different projects was much higher than the experienced companies, but they won out. They got the bids. They got the projects. No experience, right? But when it is, Stacey Rupnarine sent a letter to her expressing the concerns of the board members of NIDCO. And these are persons who are appointed by the UNC. This is a UNC board. A UNC board expressing concerns with interference by the minister, the line minister, possible bid rigging. They went to the junior minister to express their concerns. She writes to the Prime Minister. What is the result? She's demoted. She's removed from the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and put into the Ministry of, I think it was, Sports. And that was the end of that. Send the letter to Suroj and tell him, you deal with that. You deal with that. Deal with it quietly. That is their philosophy. Deal with it quietly. But all of a sudden today, they are the champions of good governance. All of a sudden today, they are the champions against corruption. Yeah, today, 2010 to 2015, they didn't know about that. 95 to 2001, they didn't know about that. But today they know about what corruption is, and they must stamp out corruption wherever it rears its head. And I am making the point today that Jillian John, based on this testimony in 2003, and in 2023, 20 years later, is prepared to have her leader misrepresent the truth, despite the fact that she, Jillian John, knows what the truth is. not because of hearsay, but first-hand experience, and is prepared to allow her leader to misrepresent the truth and fool people so that they could get back in office in 2025, says to me, she should not be anywhere near any ministry in this country as a leader, as a minister. She and the rest of them. Because it's not only the two of them. They weren't the only two people who knew. There were other persons in that cabinet who knew what was going on. Aside from Pandey, aside from Ramesh. Ramesh tried to deal with it, and he was dealt with. He was gotten rid of. Right? Let me read something else for you. Since we go in there. Let me see if I get this here. Right. Ramesh Maharaj. This is in Starbrook News, Guyana. Ramesh Maharaj, TNT PM does not stand up against corruption. This is dated November 4th, 2012. You all remember Makandal Daga? That clip, that TV6 clip? I have never seen so much thieving in all my years. People are thieving money like if they invented it. Like if they have a right to thief. This is Makandal Daga, who the People's Partnership appointed as an ambassador to CARICOM. In the space of 1 year of the People's Partnership coming into office, Makandal Daga is saying to you, he has never seen so much thieving in all his years. People thieving money like if they invented it, like if they have a right to thief. He wasn't talking about the PNM. He wasn't talking about the NAR. He was talking about the People's Partnership government. 1 year into office, thieving money like if they invented it. Let me remind all of that. The question has been repeatedly put to the government. The early proclamation of Section 34 was part of a conspiracy to allow certain men to walk free, and it has been repeatedly denied by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Attorney General Anand Ramlogan, and the rest of the People's Partnership government. Let us put it to bed quietly. But UNC financiers Ishwa Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson have already benefited from the PP government. Exactly 1 year ago, they were facing extradition to the United States on fraud charges, and now there's a possibility they will walk free via Section 34. The reversal of fortune for Galbaransing and Ferguson stemmed from Ramlogan's decision to not appeal Justice Rodin Buru Singh's judgment in the extradition case on the basis that the men would have been tried in local courts. Ramlogan subsequently put the blame on the DPP, Roger Gaspard. Let me repeat that. Ramlogan subsequently put the blame on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard, for not acting swiftly enough, and on the judiciary for granting leave to the sitting judge. The same DPP, Roger Gaspard, who they're defending today. The same DPP, right? Same DPP who she says is fiercely independent, and I have never known him to be otherwise. In 2012, put the blame on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard. Right? They forget that. But last week, they bring up the waterfront elk to come in front of the DPP office, say they're protesting in support of the DPP. 2012, just the other day. DPP fault. It's the DPP fault, right? That these two men weren't extradited. Had nothing to do with Ramlogan. It's the DPP fault. Last week, former Attorney General Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj described Section 34 as Trinidad and Tobago's Watergate. He said it is becoming increasingly evident that there was a conspiracy to free these men, and the Prime Minister cannot deny that she was aware of it. He observed that Persad-Bissessar, in her time in politics, has held the portfolios of Attorney General, Minister of Legal Affairs, and is now a senior member of the bar with a receipt of silk, so that she should have the required legal expertise to sift through notes brought before her in cabinet. He charged that Persad-Bissessar had never been strong enough to deal with the financiers of the party, and that was where the UNC's vulnerability lies. From Galbaransing and Ferguson to the Clico faction, which included former chairman Lawrence Dupre and executive assistant Carlos John. Recalling his former role, Maharaj explained that in 1999, he brought to the attention of the then cabinet the unsatisfactory state of affairs with Clico's statutory fund. He told the Sunday Express that he'd seen a report from the Ministry of Finance, which then stated that Clico was technically insolvent, but he got no support on the matter from Persad-Bissessar, who was the Minister of Legal Affairs at the time. It is now history. I was dismissed as AG, and when I was dismissed, Kamla Persad-Bissessar was made AG, he said. After that, said Maharaj, Persad-Bissessar's first action was to stop the Linquist probe into the Piarco airport scandal and instead investigate him. Marad said Galbaransing and Ferguson were once financiers of the PNM, but switched sides for the 1995 general election. And after he won the election that year, then Prime Minister Pandey publicly thanked Galbaransing, Ferguson, and Brian Quaitong for his victory. Kamla claimed Maraj does not stand up against corruption. Kamla claimed Maraj does not stand up against corruption. When she campaigned in 2010, the population did not know her. The population was conned and they were driven by two factors, the gender issue and the removal of the PNM. At that time, Maraj said 3 people, Patrick Manning, Pandey and himself, raised alarm bells, but no one would listen. No one would listen. You all were warned in 2010. She is just not ready, my dear friends. She lacks the political skill, lacks the political experience, lacks the political acumen, and would be a disaster if she were to become prime minister. Manning told you all that. Manning told you all that. But you know what? Plenty soft-head. Take Chin up. Yeah, it's something new. Get him a chance now. Get him a chance, something new. And if it is, they mess up well. Same thing all they do in Tobago. Yeah, it's something new. Get him a chance now. Always want to take chance. Take chance. And then what happens? The alternative to the PNM is chaos. But like some of us, we need to experience it firsthand. We can't take the advice. We need to experience it firsthand. So we vexed with Manning and Arima because he put penny vehicles and he put Laurel Lezama leasing. Right? So we give the UNC Arima. We vexed with whoever for Dabadi Omera, right? So we give it to Anil Roberts. Lupino Bonner West, yes, give it to the UNC. San Fernando, Tunapuna, Sangre Grande, give it to them. And what happened? 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Rape the treasury. Corruption. So they continued what they started in 95 to 2001. And now you're hearing utterances, right? Whispers, again, from the soft heads who taking chain up. That Rowley this and Rowley that. And me are voting. And me are voting. Come 2020. Can't tell nothing for me. Right? Or when Miss Kamala was there, Kamala gave the children and them laptop. And when Kamala was there, she gave them baby grant, 500 a month to make child. And when Miss Kamala was there, when she come in 2010, it had 5,000 CPF workers, and when she leave it at 15,000. When Miss Kamala was there, taking Sheena, but when Miss Kamala was there. But meanwhile, she giving all the crumbs. Look at little thing. The thiefing at will. All the big money. The financiers and friends and themselves enjoying it. But all getting a little kakada. $69 a day to paint building for 3 months. Color me orange. They give all a jersey which you had to pay for. Right? Bring you up in the Hilton Hotel to drink water and juice. Water down juice. To tell your hands up, out, down. Treat you like little children and bring a whole set of police and riot gear. Because I always say, there's a bunch of never see people from East Port of Spain coming up Hilton. They never see. So you know they're out of the element. So we need to bring the police in case they come to mash up the people place. That was the mindset. That's why they brought all those police there. But if you forget they brought the Waterfront ilk from Oropuch, Faizabad and other places, you feel they would have done that? No. The little handouts, the little kakada that we given to the PNM supporters and them in East Port of Spain to buy their vote. Yeah. Right? Get them that. Soften up their head so we could get a vote. And we're still whispering that nonsense now. We're seeing same thing that happened in 2010. Seeing that. Meanwhile, information like this is what the social media officer should be putting out. If this was the shoe was on the other foot, bet your bottom dollar, kick out the PNM would already post that article. It would have been circulated all over the place to expose Jillian John as the fraud that she is. To expose Kamla Persad-Bissessar as the fraud that she is. Right? To expose them. To show the people why. Because when we say it in the PNM, they don't believe us. We drinking Balize juice. Right? We head up Rowley backside. So if Rowley say the sky purple and it's blue, we will say it purple. That's all let's be saying. So you need these people. It have plenty of them in that party. Even if you give them this and they read it, they will simply turn a blind eye because they're suffering from a severe case of cognitive dissonance. No matter what evidence you present to them to show them the truth. When they cannot argue with you and they cannot argue with the truth, you know what they do? They try to shift the goalpost and talk about something else. So they can't deal with this. They will come and tell you about AB drilling and the 100 million. So the state stands to get at least 100 million US dollars, 125 million US dollars from these men who robbed us. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about Malcolm Jones. We want to talk about AB drilling. We want to talk about Petrotrin. Now we don't talk about this. Anything that could expose the party as the corrupt entity that it is. They are as unprincipled as they are corrupt. And we see that in Jillian John, who's aspiring to be your minister, possibly another minister of works and transport, who knows? To preside over big money projects like that again. And where there's a feeding frenzy, we will put it to rest quietly. Yeah, you have Arnold Ram sitting in the parliament, right? Fired from 2 public utilities companies. This information was in the public domain prior to the 2020 general election. Anybody make a fuss in that party? Anybody say, nah, we can't put a man like that to represent us? He fired from not 1, but 2 public utilities companies for gross misconduct? No, but he satisfies the criteria to serve as a UNC member of parliament. Ansel Antoine just say some stupidness in a meeting, having been selected as the candidate to represent the PNM in WMera. Go on in a meeting and say some stupidness, and that was it. He threw the boss, you gone. Next. He just say something. You're gone. You don't meet the PNM standards. But this man fired from 2 public utilities for gross misconduct. Long article published in the newspaper. But you select him and have him sitting down in the parliament today, a possible future minister of public utilities under UNC government. You have a man accused of prostitution, human trafficking, and other crimes, right? But you pick him as a candidate. Successful. You put him in a safe seat. He's sitting in the parliament today, dodging questions with respect to any involvement he may or may not have had in those enterprises. Sitting in the parliament today and questioning the government. When it have budget, he asking the most questions when they go into the Standing Finance Committee. All of a sudden, he's the vanguard of good governance, proper procurement. And that is the caliber of people that they present to you and the supporters. Happy to give them the vote. But if it was the PNM offer you a candidate like that, we would not hear the end of it. Right? They took Ansel Antoine to task for the statement that he made. And in no time at all, Dr. Rowley bossy truth. And he was already selected by the screening committee to represent WMera. But when this article came out, Arnold Ram, the same way Dr. Rowley boss Ansel Antoine throat, come look at her do the same thing and say, nah boy, we can't afford to have somebody like that represent the party. No. That's okay. He fits the criteria to a T. That's the kind of person that we want. Somebody who, if we get into government and he finds out about corruption, he has no problem with that. He ain't going and talk. We don't have to worry about him going to the police. That is the kind of the persons and the type of people that we need in our party to form government to run this country. This is the type of people that we will entrust with the country's treasury. And somebody who will testify to crimes, who will testify to a cabinet of crooks, and then still support the people who are in that cabinet. Support as leader somebody who was put as Attorney General, it seems, to cover up all of the crookery. There's only fakery in the bakery with these people, right? But they offering themselves to you. And you have people taking that nonsense and applauding these people, putting on their yellow jersey yesterday to walk through Tunapuna, Grandy, St. Joseph, Mama Gaiting, making all kind of promises, because you know it has soft heads who just want to hear that. That's all they want to hear. That with Kamala come back and go get money, right? They say all kind of thing about CPEP. She boasted we created 50,000 jobs, 10,000 of which was low-paying jobs in CPEP. But you're beating your chest about that. You created 50,000 employees. How many entrepreneurs did you create? Zero, zilch, nada, except for your friends, family, and finances, all who you give contract. Pararat Mami. Yeah? They didn't give her CPEP work. No, she get contract. Pararat Mami, get contract. What she know about contracts? She even know how to read a RFP, but she get contract. But the rest of all here, so fed. All they get Colombia earning $69 a day, $500 a month to make child, and all they happy with that. All they get food card. with $350 and $400 a month on the food card. Meanwhile, they're giving the same friends. I recall, I will never forget that, going to West Massey in Maraval. And I see this lady with this big trolley, 2 trolleys, in fact, the groceries, right? 2 trolleys in front of me. And when time to pay, you pull out your food card. Pull out your food card. She pull out the wallet. I surprised to see that. I said, nah, can't be. Maybe some family members who is probably handicapped or something and they get a food card. I refuse to believe that. But that was commonplace then. Commonplace then. But all they get a food card, color me earn $69 a day and $500 a month to make child. They give all the child a laptop that then lasts as long as the red house fire. No internet connectivity. No syllabus in school that deals with IT with respect to the use of the laptop. So the laptop was not incorporated into the school syllabus, but they give all your child a laptop. So you can say, hey, my child get a laptop. When the child come home, you have no electricity. You're living in a one-room shack up in the bush somewhere up the road, so, right? No electricity, no internet. So the child can't use the laptop when they're home. So it's only when they go to school, they plug it in and they connect. They could use it in school, but not home. And all they applaud that. Yes. And she come in now with the same shop it up, put us back in office, and we will ensure that every primary school child get a tablet. Half of these children already have tablets home, but you want to go and spend government money to buy a tablet for them. For what? So you could give out contract to thief. These people invented new ways to thief. As Makandal Daga say, they thiefing money like if they invented it, as if it is a right to thief. It's the right to thief. And we still uplifting these people as sensible people in this country who went to school, who work on a degree and whatnot, talking nonsense about the thief. But they do. They thief, but they do. So the money that they thief, how much more could they have done with that if they didn't thief it? You understand? So when Kati say, all are we thief, the upholders, you all who upholding that nonsense, you all are worse than the thieves. That when it is we are challenging supporters of the UNC on Facebook and providing them with the evidence to show that the party corrupt, they may want to hear that, right? They're studying how much money it costs to build Balize House. Munilal say 17 million. Kopi Singh say 50 million. Rodney Charles say 100 million. I saw one of the supporters yesterday, Asha Ramlakan, I think is her name. I had to challenge her. She says 200 million. I tell her, well, every time you all discuss that topic, like you're adding interest to the cost, by the end of April, it might reach $1 billion. Yeah? But that's what we're studying. We only get our money to build that big building. When it is that they were having September affair, the PNM, $1,500 plate dinner, where were you all? Where were you all? When it is they were selling PNM memorabilia, the rings and the pendants and all of the different things to raise money, where were you all? The UNC, according to Yunanan Prasad, go on his Facebook page, in 2000 and in the year 2000 was it, or 2009 thereabouts? Right, I think it was 2009 or something. He said that the UNC had a car raffle, a 20-car raffle. They raised $9 million from that raffle, and it was deposited in their bank account in Scotiabank in Cuba. And he asking where the money went. That was money to build the headquarters. Where the money went? They are asking that. Who donated the 20 cars for that raffle? Well, you are asking that, but you want to know who donated the 10 cars for the PNM. You all had 20, twice the amount, but you are asking who donated that and where it come from, which financier. Ramona Ramdial is on record on Facebook as having said when she engaged in discussion with somebody who challenged her, that when they were in office, they had enough financiers to build 20 headquarters the size of what the PNM building now. Not 1, not 2, not 5, 20. They had enough financiers to do that. But in 2015, in the lead up to election, Munilal come on our platform and said, the UNC, we have no financiers. We funded our election campaign by selling Lil Polori and cake and sugar cake and thing. Right? Because we come down on the last shower rain. You all want to ask him questions then? No. But you want to know now where the PNM getting the money from to fund Balize House. You want to know? Well, become a member of the PNM. Cut up your UNC membership card and become a member of the PNM. Because we pay our membership dues every year. So all of these little bits of thing contributes to it. So when it is Marsha, UNC Potong in Chief, Walker, want to come and ask questions and want to talk a certain nonsense about why it is they're not talking about Quaitong and Russell Huggins was PNM ministers. Marsha forget she was PNM too one time. Yes. Anil Roberts too. Remember the big show he made when he cut up his membership card, cut it in half, and he said he going across to the COP, got the PNM and Rowley this and Rowley that. All of them was in PNM at one point in time. They saw the virtues and the values of the PNM, and then what? The corruption in them started to well up. And they realized they couldn't make any PNM. So what we do, we run next door where corruption is rife and the environment is conducive to that kind of thing. And they go on there. All of them today defending that. Defending a leader who lies with impunity. She knows, as the former Attorney General, having seen all of the documents that Jillian John saw, it took Jillian John just a matter of weeks to see a few documents and determine the corruption that was taking place there. Attend one meeting, and realize the level of greed in there. Right? But Kamala, as Attorney General, who had the report, all the documents and everything, she wasn't bright enough to see corruption. Right? Ramesh saw it, but she couldn't see it. It's just like in 2010 when they came in, Carolyn Sipasad Beechan as the Minister of Energy, when the fake oil thing reared its head, remember? Carolyn Sipasad Beechan was interviewed by the news there, and she said when she came in, she saw several audit reports spanning a number of years in which it is that you saw issues with respect to a number of contractors who were understating the amount of oil and so on, right? 1 year after, she said 1 year later, she was fired. They bring in Kevin Ramnarine. But when the whole issue with the fake oil read its head in 2017, 2018, he said he never seen no report with nothing about no fake oil. Carolyn saw it. She was there 1 year. He was there 4 years. She saw it in 1 year. Several reports, several internal audit reports. The same internal audit report system that identified A.V. Drilling. Carolyn see plenty in 1 year. He there 4 years, 3 months and 14 days. He never seen it. He never seen no report talking about that. Somebody lying. Is either Carolyn lie or he lie? You take your pick as to which one of them was lying. Right? But these are the people that they want to bring back to put in office to run this country. And we're supposed to believe that for 5 years, 3 months and 14 days hence, it will all be honky-dory. No corruption, nothing of the sort. Everything will be above board. When it is that you have the future of the party, people like Saddam Hussein, Sean Sobers, Tahaka Obika could come on a platform and lie and say, Google said the emails was fake, Microsoft said the emails was fake, the DPP said the emails was fake, but the report of the DPP's office said no such thing, said the exact opposite, that we can neither confirm nor deny the authenticity of the emails. But these three future leaders of the UNC come on a Monday night platform and telling you that Microsoft say and Google say and this one say. So they're training them from now to be liars. And they're doing a damn good job of it. And plenty of people out there buying that hook, line, and sinker. They don't want to hear nothing that Embird say because all they know is Embird increased the price of fuel 4 times. They ain't riot yet. That's all they know about Embird. They ain't talking about the fact that Embird increased their personal allowance 3 times since he came into office. Under Kamala, your personal allowance was $60,000 a year. So if you're making more than 60K, any addition, every dollar you earn over 60,000, 25 cents going to the Board of Inland Revenue. They ain't about that. But Embird come in, he raised it from 60 to 72. Then he took it from 72 to 84. Then he took it from 84 to 90. So now, all these people who were earning over $5,000 a month and were paying taxes, when Kamala was there for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, she never touched it. Never touched it. Today, you're saving $7,500 a year in taxes that you would have otherwise sent to the Board of Inland Revenue. But all you ain't applaud that yet. No. They don't even talk about that. No. Everything going up. Nothing, everything, the only thing that ain't going up is with salary. But your personal allowance went up 3 times, thanks to Embird. But we ain't talking that. Right? Embird removed VAT on so many things. Kamala says she removed VAT on 7,000 food items. Ask her, what's the 7,000 food items? Not one of them could tell you. What is the 7,000? Which household in this country goes to the grocery at the end of the month and pick up 7,000 food items? Ask them which ones now. They can't tell you. But but Rowley come back in and there was zero VAT on that Kamla and he put back 12.5%. All of the main basic food items that they remove VAT off of, when Embed came in, he left the VAT off of it. It is there. All they had to do, zero rated items, Trinidad and Tobago. No VAT items, Trinidad and Tobago. And pull it up and you will see since 2016. All of these things have been zero rated. They didn't put back any VAT on that. They put back VAT on things like caviar, maraschino cherries. All of these things that who buys? The average household is buy that? No. The 1%, the 9%, their friends and their family, they love to boast. So one of them posted up yesterday about what? That is the supporters of the UNC own the most hardwares in this country and they own the most land and the most businesses in this country is the supporters of the UNC. And what the PNM supporters have, they are just workers and employees for these people. Thanks for reminding us of that. Thanks for reminding us of that. But it was for them. The removal of VAT on these things is for them. The things that they buy when they're having the big dinner party and so on. Yeah? All the fancy things for the friends and family to come and partake of. Meanwhile, they're hiring you to work in the bar. And, they're hiring you to come and clean up the toilet and stuff afterwards. Right. You're not worthy to be invited any other sphere. But you slaving every day to make money for them so that they can have these big parties to invite their friends, family, and financiers. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, what are you doing? You tie up your apron. Yes, sir. Yes, missus. No, I have to know. I mean, I'm not done crying work. Work is work. But you see, when it is, they could come and throw it in your face to say UNC members and UNC supporters own the most land, the most businesses, the most this, that, the other, and the next. And PNM supporters, we are just workers. We are just employees. And they're happy to rub that in your face. What is our response? Where is our social media officer? Where is our social media committee? To be highlighting things like these. This should be circulating on Facebook, on social media for all and sundry to see, so that Jillian John could see it in her face. Remind her of the testimony that she gave in 2003 and ask her to account for it. Why isn't the media asking her about that? Ms. John, in the face of what your leader said, that it was a 25-year-old PNM smear campaign, if we were to juxtapose that against the testimony you gave in 2003, where you said X, Y, and Z, and we have it here, you care to comment on that? What is she going to say? We need to ensure that people are armed. So you see when they're walking up and down the East-West corridor every Saturday, and they come in by your house, morning, good afternoon. I would ask her, hey, Jillian, I'm glad you passed by my house. I have a question for you. And you testified in 2003 that you went to Pandey and tell him about the corruption in the airport, and he tell you he know, he's aware. Didn't you testify that there was an interministerial committee comprising several ministers who were engaged in greed, that it was insanity? So how come you allow Kamla to say on the Monday Night Forum that it was a PNM smear campaign and you know that she was lying? I would put that question to her and let me hear what she would say. The media wouldn't call Jillian for an interview. Them two on the morning show, on the most influential name in radio, in talk radio, they wouldn't call Jillian and ask her that. No, but instead, Rowley this and the PNM that, and who talking poppycock and all of that. That is what they will talk. They will talk to Kamla and allow her to talk nonsense, trash, lie on public radio. And we allow her to get away with that. Right? What are we doing? Me, Jenny, Juliet, Google, Sharon, Darian, John, and John. Mr. Chance, Brian, and these others who do their part by calling in the radio stations, right? And sharing the information. Don't mind even if they're going on the East Indian Formatives radio station where they know they go get cussed and cut off, but they still persist to make sure that the information gets out there. What is social media committee doing? What is wrong? What is our PR machinery doing? We have an election to fight just now, right? So it's a case where the UNC now is engaging in warfare. We're in a battlefield, social media battlefield. And the UNC arming their supporters and their membership with propaganda machinery. Propaganda, lies, misinformation, disinformation. You know what? They're giving them Uzis, AR-15, bazookas, grenades to go out and fight in this social media war. And meanwhile, our PR machinery giving us butter knife and pen knife and telling us go out there and fight. Go and fight them with the Glock and the 9mm with misinformation. the AR-15 armed with this information, and we hold a knife and a penknife and expect to win that fight. Right. I'm fed up talking about it. I don't know what else to do. As I said, we will, those of us who are fighting it, we will continue to do what we could do, as much as we could do to get the information out there on the limited platforms that we have, and hope that it is sufficient to make a dent. And we rely on persons like you who are on here to share lives like these and to encourage people to share the information. Because I just don't know. I don't know. Like, I just don't know. So those of you who live in Tunapuna, St. Joseph, when they come walking in front of your house, anytime while you see Jillian, ask her that for me, please. Ask her that. Go on their Facebook page and see when next they're coming in your neighborhood. And please, if all you see Jillian, ask her that for me. You said in 2003 you went to Panday. You saw corruption. It made you sick. The greed was palpable. Insanity. You say that, Jillian. So how you could allow Kamala to say that it was a PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt when you publicly testify to that? Look out for her, Tunapuna people. Don't let them get away at all. Right? We will share this article and others on the Debunking UNC Lives with Facts page, so you all could save it. And anytime you see you go on Facebook or any other social media platform and they come with nonsense, just copy it and post it in the comments. Or put it as a reply to the comment and tell them, well, you want to talk about PNM corruption, well, answer this now. Your deputy political leader said this. She said your party corrupt. Your prime minister was corrupt, ministers of government, and the leader of your party right now is also corrupt. She said that. This is not Rowley saying this. This is not Faris saying this. This is Jillian John saying that. Take it and post it. Go on Marsha Walker page. For those of you who could comment on her page, post it and ask her to talk about that. Go on the Doglaya page, post it and ask him to talk about it. And we will continue to share more articles such as that. I have plenty more stuff, but it's too much to deal with today. And we will share it to the page. So you will go follow the page, Debunking UNC Lies. And for those of you who are on YouTube, you could just subscribe to the page. We will share the information. Make sure it gets out there. We are the social media committee of the PNM. We are the de facto social media committee. And the ones who have the responsibility and the resources and doing the work, we will take it upon ourselves to do the work, right? Because there's work to be done, and we have a responsibility to ensure that these liars and these thieves never get back into office in this country. And it has nothing to do with race. Nothing to do with race. I couldn't care if the leader of the PNM was Ruan Sinanan, if it's Terence Dayal Singh, if it's Stuart. I couldn't care, right? These are persons with integrity. The same cannot be said for the other side. And when it is that you have other parties like the PEP and Watson Duke, PDP, well, it's now a one-man party. Now you have the NTA with Gary Griffith spreading their propaganda as well. They have their mouthpieces. And then you have Hope. There's next one. So it's all kind of parties coming out now to fight the PNM. So this is what. So it's not just the UNC we battling, it's the rest of them too. So we need to make sure we armed. We don't want no butter knife. We don't want no pen knife. That can't help us, right? Because the time we take to pull it out of pocket, we get licked down long time. That's not making no sense. No sense to me. But hopefully, somebody listening might utter in the right ears. We might see something happening. What's the time there? No, 12:49. Yeah. So, thank you so much, folks. I know some of you want me to stay on for a little while longer. But as I said, we're working diligently to put the phone call system in place. So it's just for us to get the equipment, the phone, the speaker, whatever it is you all can hear. And then in the not too distant future, before the end of April, we hope you all will be able to call in, because I know there are persons on who want to be able to make a contribution and who want to be able to hear the contributions of the listeners. Let me just see some of what is here. Althea Allen says, I need to start back Tuesdays. Yes, Althea, I need to do that. Val is saying all of them will join forces to be the PNM eventually. Yes, we know that, Val, as in 2010. Natasha Burnett is saying, thank you. At least we can hear the facts and be reminded. Sorry, it's not when that voice is on. I can't listen to that balance. Thanks again, our social media officer. You're most welcome. David Clark says, we know who is who over there. We have to be Troy with them. We need that platform for now. Yes, David. Veronica Jack is saying, let me know when they come in, Dabadi. I will be waiting. I'm waiting for them too. Desperately, I want Jillian to come and I want Anel to come. I have plenty questions for them. Right? We need to get a cameraman to put them. So when we ask them the question, we could post it up for you to see the stupid answers that they're going to get. I want Marsha come in my constituency. The lunacy. Come, Marsha. We're waiting for you. Yeah? Come. You want to go up against Dr. Rowley again? Denise Coggins says, thanks for a great show. You're most welcome. Anetta Baird, thanks as always. Thank you so much. Beverly as well. Gulston says, thanks. Great show. Thank you so much. Point Kumana Sharon, Pamela Moses, right? Yes, I forgot to add Rhoda Barath. Forgive me. How could I forget Rhoda? So, folks, again, thank you for tuning in. Let me see what I could do. I ain't guaranteeing Tuesday, but let me see what I could put together. Because I said I have a lot more information to share, and I really need to look. I will look into the Tuesday, but for sure, we on Thursday and again on Sunday. Of course, next Sunday, Friday is a holiday. You never know. So, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. Val is saying, I need a baseball bat. Yes, I need a baseball bat, Val, for when they come knocking on my gates. And a pit bull too. Yeah? So if you have one, we go organize. So thank you again, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And if not Tuesday, definitely I will be back on Thursday. Or we might do it Friday morning, depending. Friday is a holiday and so on. So we can do it a little later and go a little longer. Right? So, as always, peace, right? And we chat again. I'm out.